Hi y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another video, guys. I know I haven't had a video up in a few weeks. I do apologize. Just kind of been taking a little bit of a breather from making content and just kind of getting on YouTube and social media all together. Just decided to take a break, generally between, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Super hectic around here between work and family and whatnot, coming in and visiting and going and visiting family. But I am back, so I wanted to kick this off with a review of a pretty good book. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is a review over Dirk Pitt, book number 2. That is The Mediterranean Caper by Mr. Clive Cussler. If you're new to the channel, or if you just happen to stumble upon this, or you've been on the channel for a little bit, I'm going to give you kind of a refresher on how I came across this series. So I had bought the Fargo Adventure series by Mr. Cussler. I didn't really enjoy the first book a whole lot. Go check out that review if you want a little bit more in depth on why. But somebody had said, hey, I think you would really enjoy the Dirk Pitt series. Give it a try. So I went to my local library sale that they had a few months back, and I picked up the first, I think it's like 12 or 13 books in this series. When they're 50 cents a book, you can't beat that. So I ended up picking them up, and I really enjoyed the first one. Go watch that review. It is on the channel. And so I decided to give it about a month and then pick up book number 2. Well, I did finish it. I finished it probably like 3 weeks ago, so I figured I'd get back on here and review this for you guys and tell you guys what I think of this. So what is the Mediterranean Caper about? Again, it is book number 2 in this ongoing series. I think the series is up to like 23 or 24 books now. But let me kind of give you a little bit of a broad scope of what this book is about. I'm going to read this on my phone here real quick. So, on an isolated Greek island, a World War I fighter plane attacks a modern U.S. Air Force base. A mysterious saboteur preys on an American scientific expedition, and Dirk Pitt plays a deadly game of hunter and hunted with the elusive head of an international smuggling ring. So that kind of gives you an idea of what this book is about. Kind of painting a little bit more of a picture for you guys. So this book starts off, the first chapter, and I'm not going to spoil anything. My reviews generally are spoiler free, and I'm going to plan on keeping that the case here. So, again, the book opens up. We are introduced to a character who is on this base, on this kind of isolated Greek island. He's in a watchtower. He's just it's a lazy day. There's not really anything going on and whatnot. And he notices, hey, there's this plane coming, but nobody's supposed to be out and about. Like, nobody's supposed to be doing anything. Like, this is kind of restricted airspace. This is a military base. And before he knows it, this plane starts opening up fire and firing at this base. So that kind of leads us to how Dirk Pitt kind of intervenes here, and we get to see how Dirk kind of fits into the story and whatnot, And so it's up to Dirk to figure out, why is there a World War I era plane flying around, and why is this particular plane, why is there a legend around this plane? What is so mysterious, and what connection does it have to this military base? And that's about as much as I can go in depth on this, storyline wise, without spoiling anything. Now, what I will say, as always, I really enjoyed Dirk Pitt in the first book. Now, his best friend, and I'm drawing a blank on what his name is, and I'm going to kick myself in the butt for not looking this up ahead of time. But you know what? I'm going to roll with the punches, if you will. So at the end of book 1, we're kind of introduced to Dirk's best friend. Well, he plays a more prominent role in book number 2. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I really enjoyed kind of their interacting. Dirk is definitely a ladies' man. He is... He was in the Air Force, and now he's working for the Numa division and whatnot, or has been. And so he's not, he's not a John Rambo. He's not, a Schwarzenegger character in a movie. He's a flawed guy. But Lady Luck just seems to be on Dirk's side, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. What I will say in this book, and so far in this series, I wish Dirk had a little bit more trouble when it came to some conflicts, as far as how he'll get out of them. Some of them, he kind of does get by, within an inch of his life, but some of them he just ends up kind of solving the issue like halfway through the book, and you're figuring out who it is, and it's kind of, I don't want to say a letdown, but it kind of deters from this because in my mind, when I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, who do I think it is? And again, Dirk will kind of tell you, oh, I think it's this person. He'll explain to another character on who he thinks it is and whatnot and why, and then it generally ends up being the case. Now, I'm not going to say that it takes away from the book. It really doesn't. I still enjoyed this book just as much. I think if Mr. Cussler had kind of let it go a little bit more towards the end of the book, I think it would have made it a little bit more interesting, personally. Now, again, his best friend is in this. The biggest issue, in all honesty, guys, that I had with this book is there's a scene in this book where they make Dirk's best friend kind of seem like an idiot. I'm not going to lie. There's one, and if you read this, you'll understand. Again, it didn't take away from the book, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I kind of had a little bit of a problem because, how is this dude able to go with Dirk to do something and yet he's kind of bumbling around, and I don't know. There's just in my mind, I think how they interact and how they things play out between them. It makes me think of a couple of characters from a movie, and I can't place it just off the top of my head. But again, I really enjoyed seeing them interact in this book. It's definitely a series that I am so happy that I've picked it up and continued on with it. I really am. Again, this was such a great read. It's only like a 300 something, a little over 300 page book, so it's not super long, and it really is quick paced. Again, this is definitely a series I think that's directed more towards men. Mr. Cussler, while he does not go in great detail to describe women, and he doesn't use any profane language to describe them, this is definitely, though, a book, like I said, that's catered more towards men, if I had to guess at all. There is a section in this book where we actually have, they're kind of trying to escape and whatnot, and the girl they're with and again, Dirk definitely has his way with the women in this. I will say that, definitely. Again, a great book. I really, really enjoyed this. I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really do. I think this would have been a higher rated book if Dirk hadn't figured it out in the middle. If it had kind of gone more towards the end of the story, I think it would have been, a little bit more higher ranked, or it got a higher ranking. But again, I really enjoyed this, guys. I enjoyed this one just as much, if not more, than the first book. And if you watch my review, I really, really enjoyed the first book. So I am highly recommending this series so far. 2 books in, he's 2 for 2. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Mr. Cussler is 2 for 2 with this series for me. Again, I am so excited to continue on with this series. Again, it's a little daunting because when you get to I don't remember what book number it is, but Dirk Cussler, I'm guessing it's Mr. Clive Cussler's son, takes over and starts writing the series. And depending on how that goes, it's a little daunting with, somebody else possibly writing the series. But if he writes anything like his dad, I can't wait. Again, 24, 25, however many books this series is, and it's still going. I'm super excited to keep continuing on with the series. This is definitely starting to get up there ranked with Longmire for being one of my favorite ongoing series of all time. I'm not going to lie, guys. So again, The Mediterranean Caper by Clive Cussler. Should you pick it up? If you enjoyed book 1, I would say yes, pick this up. If you're kind of hesitant about book 1, you're kind of on the fence, I would still recommend pick this up. There's quite a few things that Mr. Cussler does in this book that's the same that he kind of did in book 1, but I think there's a little bit more of a comedic aspect to this. Just the interacting between Dirk and his best friend, in my mind, kind of makes me laugh a little. And I'm going to use this because this just popped in my head on who the characters are. It's like the movie Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey. You have, Matthew McConaughey's character, and then you have as they describe him in the movie, the Iranian sidekick. That's kind of how they interact in this book. So again, not an amusing book, not a funny book or anything like that, but there's some lighter moments in this, some more comedic aspect to the interactions in this book. So again, I highly recommend it. Pick the book up, guys. I promise you will enjoy it. As always, thank you for watching this video. Y'all have a good one.